Part 1: The Quiet King. In the spring of 1957, New York City pulsed with its usual symphony. Honking taxis, the clatter of elevated trains, the distant hum of jazz leaking from Harlem club doors. Yet beneath the surface, the streets were ruled by whispers. Everyone in the underworld sensed a change coming, like storm clouds gathering beyond the skyline. At the center of that storm stood Frank Costello, the Prime Minister of the Underworld. Costello was unlike other bosses. He didn't shout. He didn't carry a gun. He ruled with influence on politicians, judges, unions, construction companies. He hated bloodshed, hated the old Sicilian ways. But the younger generation saw his diplomacy as weakness, and one man hungry for the throne could no longer wait. Vito Genovese. Part 2: A City Divided. Genovese had always resented Costello's power. He felt he deserved the throne of the Luciano family. After all, he was Sicilian, a real boss, not an Americanized racketeer. While Costello drank high-end whiskey in midtown lounges, Genovese brooded in dim tenements, surrounded by men who whispered of power. He waited. He plotted. He watched Costello's every move. Meanwhile, the FBI had begun compiling thick dossiers on every known mafia figure. Wiretaps, informants, secret photographs, all of it pointed to one conclusion. Something was about to break. And Genovese wanted to strike first. Part 3: The Assassin. On a cool evening in late April, Genovese called in his most loyal street soldier, Vincent the Chin Gigante, a hulking, broad-shouldered man with empty, unblinking eyes and a face that looked carved from stone. "The time has come," Genovese said softly. "Make sure he doesn't see another sunrise." Gigante nodded once, as if accepting a sacred duty. He owed Genovese his life, and now he would repay the debt. But even then, he hesitated. "Boss," he said, "Costello has friends. Judges, cops, politicians. The city will shake." Genovese leaned closer. "That's the point." Part 4: The Last Walk. Frank Costello finished dinner late that night, oysters, steak, a glass of scotch, at his favorite restaurant on Central Park South. His driver pulled up to the curb, opening the door with the kind of respect reserved for royalty. Costello sighed as he stepped into the night. He knew pressure was mounting. He had heard rumors, strange movements, unusual phone calls, men watching him a little too closely. But he believed that his reputation, his connections, his legacy would protect him. He was wrong. As the car turned onto Sutton Place, streetlights flickered against the shining pavement. The river wind carried a chill. Costello stepped out and walked toward the lobby of his apartment building. Behind him, footsteps. Slow, heavy, certain. He turned. Part 5: The Shot. Gigante raised the pistol. "Frank," he muttered. A single muzzle flash tore through the night. The bullet grazed Costello's skull, tearing his hat apart, ripping into the wall behind him. Costello collapsed, clutching his head. Blood dripped between his fingers. Gigante ran. The doorman shouted for help. Residents screamed. Within minutes, sirens wailed. But Costello did not die. The bullet had only nicked him. A miracle in the opinion of every doctor and detective who saw the wound. And as he lay in the hospital bed, Costello realized something with chilling clarity. Genovese would never stop until he was dead. Part 6: The Trial. Gigante was arrested within hours. The newspapers exploded with headlines. Assassination attempt on Costello. Underworld war in New York. Detectives pressured Gigante to confess. He shrugged, eyes empty. I didn't even know who Frank Costello was, he whispered. The jury laughed. The judge scowled. But then, Costello himself took the stand. The courtroom was silent. Mr. Costello, the prosecutor said, can you identify the man who shot you? Costello stared at Gigante. Their eyes met. The room held its breath. Finally, Costello spoke. I didn't see his face. Gas rippled through the courtroom. Gigante walked free, and Costello, with that sentence, made his choice. He was done. Part 7, The Resignation. The moment he left the courthouse, Costello knew the truth. I'm out, he said to his closest allies. He handed the reins to Carlo Gambino, a quiet, calculating figure who had been waiting with the patience of a monk and the hunger of a wolf. Gambino bowed his head respectfully. Thank you, Frank, Costello replied with a weary smile. Take care of the family. Genovese will ruin it if you let him. Gambino nodded again, but inside his mind, a new empire was already forming. An empire with him at the center. Part 8, The New Order. Genovese thought he had won. He believed Costello's retreat meant he now controlled New York, but he didn't see the trap forming beneath his feet. Gambino and Costello had struck a silent pact. While Genovese celebrated, the two men met quietly in private. Costello gave Gambino everything: political connections, business ties, judges' influence, the cost of peace, and Gambino in return promised something unsaid, something dark, something inevitable. Within a year, Genovese was arrested on federal narcotics charges, betrayed by men he trusted. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. Part 9, The Last Meeting. Years later, Costello and Gambino met for the last time on a quiet afternoon in Staten Island. They sat on a bench, watching gulls circle above the water. You did well, Costello said. You taught me well, Gambino replied. Costello exhaled, closing his eyes. No one rules forever. Remember that Gambino nodded. Neither man said the name Genovese. They didn't have to. Part 10, Epilogue, The Fall of Kings. Frank Costello died not by the bullet meant for him, nor by betrayal, nor by law. He died years later, quietly in his sleep. A rare fate for a mafia boss. Vito Genovese rotted in federal prison, cursing the world that turned against him. Carlo Gambino grew to become one of the most powerful mafia leaders in American history, the architect of an empire that lasted decades. And Vincent, the Chin Gigante, he became infamous for walking Little Italy in a bathrobe, pretending to be insane, a disguise that fooled the FBI for years. But the night Costello fell, the night the shot was fired, was the night the entire underworld shifted. A single bullet, a single decision in a courtroom, a silent pact between old kings. And the world of organized crime was never the same again. If you made it to the end, thank you. Please leave a like and subscribe. It helps me create more stories like this one, because some secrets are still waiting to be heard.